Hello. Hey, the Golden Knights are back. I don't know what the hell those last two games were. Somehow clawed a point out of the previous one, but that was it. That's why then that game is why I don't like the excuses from the last two games. It's like, oh well, Stone's out and blah blah, Hannafin, Hill, right? Like, no, just go play a good game. They have good players: Eichel, Hurdle, Marner, Pavel, Carlson, Theodore. Like, there's good players. Go play a good game. That's what they did today. And this is the second time against Carolina. They played 10 games this season. Their two best games are against Carolina. Both of them. Excellent games. The only two games Freddie Anderson's lost this season. And he played pretty well, actually. And they still got it done. So it's like the where the offense goes and where, like, what all of that has happened. And I planned this podcast or this Periscope to be post trip in the first place because I want to talk about all three of them. The other two happen in day games on weekend. Nobody's doing that. Football, you know. So I figured we got a Tuesday night. We might as well go through all of it. And then we end up with two terrible games and one awesome one. So we're probably going to focus mostly on the awesome one tonight. Like, that's the way that they're supposed to be playing. That's the speed that they should be playing at. When a team plays a high speed game against the Golden Knights, they should be able to pick up that speed and play against them. When they play a physical game against the Golden Knights, it can't look like it did against Florida. The high speed game against Tampa wasn't there. The physical game against Florida, it wasn't there. Tonight, you see the speed, you see what they needed to have, the way that that's how they have to pick the game up. And now all of a sudden, you're looking like you're rolling through four lines. You're getting contributions from everybody. It doesn't really matter which D pair's in there because the game is moving quickly and it's not these little scrums in front of the goal or long times in their own end or whatever. Like, that's what it should look like. And I think the story of the game, like, Dorofeev scored twice, Eichel scored twice. One of them's an empty netter. It's the other goal that I think is the real story of the game. And the real story to me of, like, how things are going to progress for this team against good teams. Against bad teams, Pavel and Eichel and these guys can get the job done. Like, you play the shitty teams, they have a halfway decent game. That's it. Game over. You win. That's not what I'm here for. Like, yeah, we'll take all the points, get into the playoffs, get us home games so I don't have to travel as much. Like, yeah, we'll take all of that. Cool. But when you play the good teams, when you play the Floridas, not that Tampa was playing all that well. When you play Carolina, we've seen them now twice. When they get to this Colorado game on Nevada Day, the next game on Friday afternoon, like, you're going to need that group, that fourth line, to do what they did today. And it's the first time they've actually done it. Like, Howden has a goal on the season. Sissons doesn't. Reinhardt might. I don't remember. Either way, the Kolazar doesn't. They have really not done all that much, right? So to have them come through in a game against a deep team, this is not your run-of-the-mill shitty Pacific Division team where I sit here and say, well, the three guys in the fourth line are all second line, third line AHLers in this system. The third line is not even a good fourth line. Like, that's not what they were facing today, right? Like, this is a good team. This is a deep team, Carolina. And this is a team that plays in a style that forces you to move the puck with precision, with good support, and make things happen, as opposed to simply just throwing the puck in and trying to forecheck them. It doesn't really work. You can try it. It doesn't really work. You have to make plays in tight spaces against this team. And this fourth line, for the first time, actually did it. And there will be arguments, and we will get to them. I'm assuming. I want a bigger sample size than one game. Carolina's off a 6-game road trip. It's their first game home. Like, usually that game doesn't go well. But that aside, like, you have to look at, is it better with Howden in the middle? Like, I understand saying, okay, well, Reinhardt's better than Sissons. I think it's a different role. I think the question is, do we prefer Howden in the middle with whoever ends up on the left? And I think there's an argument that you can actually pull someone down. You could pull a Smith down, you could pull a Saad down, and then potentially try and find a different fit in the top 9. That's an option. I don't think Sissons is that fit. You probably have to bench Sissons, and you're probably not going to win as many faceoffs, which seems to matter to Bruce Cassidy, not as much to me. Or do you have Howden on that wing as effectively a second center option? Sissons stays in the middle, and now you have different options and more, I would say, probably reliable and better players, even though Sissons hasn't really been it to all that much here yet. That's the question that they're going to have to figure out. I don't know what Sissons' injury is. We will probably find out a little bit more on Thursday if he skates. I don't believe they're going to skate tomorrow. Very rarely do they after a road trip. Certainly coming home. It's 6 o'clock now. They're not going to be home till midnight. They're probably not going to skate. So either way, like, we're probably getting more information on Thursday. Then there's going to be no morning skate on Friday. So it's going to be a quick turnaround, even though it's not. There's 2 days off, but it's going to feel that way in regards to how the news trickles out. That's a decision that's going to have to be made, because I think that's a huge part of what this team has to be. Like, the top 9, there's 2 different ways, or top 6, I guess you can argue. There's 2 different ways that they can put it, especially when Stone's out of the lineup. I think when Stone's in the lineup, it looks a little bit different. You're probably better than most top 6s on almost every given night. When Stone's out of the lineup, you can have a top line that's better than any other team's top line if you want to put Marner and Hertl or Marner and Eichel together, or you separate them and now you're a little bit more spread out. You then have Carlson and Smith and whoever it happens to be, whether it's Saad, whether it's Holtz, whether it's whoever, Pavel, if he ends up there, if you want to move somebody up, whatever, that group can play the defensive role and put yourself in a spot where now you have that balance to now be handing good opportunities constantly to your best players, to Eichel, to Marner and Hertl and Pavel, and getting them better situations. That's what occurred today. This is a really, really difficult team when it comes to matchups. It's very difficult when you have to deal with Stahl and Martinook. And Martinook was giving the Golden Knights problems for a good portion of the middle segment of that game. He was kind of punking Eichel a little bit. And eventually the goal goes in, and you saw what happened after he scores the goal. And it's like, all right, this is why playing Carolina on the road is so difficult, because they have these matchups. But what offsets those matchups is when you're getting more from a fourth line. When you're getting good offensive zone time, puck down in their end, opportunities in front of the goal. The low to high play forces them to skate a lot. You pull them apart, and then usually they were ending with either offensive zone draw off of a freeze or off of a puck going up, or an icing, which is even better because now their players have to stay on, or at worst, most of their shifts were at worst ending with the puck comes out of the zone. It's a change, and the Golden Knights get a free opportunity to rush back up the ice with their new players on the ice. That is how this team takes the step to be the Stanley Cup contender that we want them to be. That is where you can sit there and say all of the goals that have occurred, all the power play goals, and Eichel's leading the league, and Dorofiev's leading the league, and all of this. It's all cool. It's all fun. It's all great in October, and we can celebrate all of it, and we will. Eichel's literally the MVP of the league at the moment through 10 games. That's awesome. Pavel's like what's he leading the Rocket Richard race? Like, that's awesome. Like, there's some cool things with the individual stats. They're probably not going to hold up. His history tells us they're probably not going to hold up. But what can hold up is how the offense gets generated, how they go about wearing teams down and finding ways against good teams, because this was not a poorly played hockey game like we saw. Vegas played a poor game against Florida. Vegas played an all right game to not great against Tampa, and Tampa played pretty darn well, and Carl Lindbaum was good. Today, Carolina played pretty well. They got a little bit, it was a little rough for them in like the end of the first period, early second, but then they came on, and it was a game. Like, we're 10 minutes left in that game. It's a game. They ring that one off the pipe, and that goes in. It's a different game. Like, that's a game. And what I mean by this is, like, both teams are in this. These are excellent teams. These wouldn't surprise anybody if either of these 2 teams is in the Stanley Cup final. And what's occurring is that the Golden Knights are the team that's applying more pressure to this team on the road at the end of a trip. That's what you want to see. That's what's going to mitigate some of the issues that the Golden Knights have defensively, and we've seen them. Lazan has been a bit of a problem. Hutton really did not do all that well in this game. Whitecloud is doing his best in the role he's in, and sometimes it's going well and sometimes it's not. McNabb is playing above his head again at age 35. Theodore, I think at times it's going well, but the offense still really isn't there. And like Nick said, you're not getting any goals out of the defense. So that's a big part of it as well. To get the game rolling the way you want and mitigate some of that, because every team has holes. Not every team's going to be perfect. And they were without 2 key players too. Golden Knights were without 3 key players. Like, these are good teams. You're going to have some issues with your lineup. To offset that, you've got to have all of it going with your offense. And that's where, to me, the fourth line playing the game that they played, the third line taking a lot of the defensive responsibility that Carlson often takes and making a couple of big time plays, that frees up the Eichel line, the Marner line, with Hurdle. That frees up the opportunity to out penalty them 4-1. Like, Golden Knights had 4 power plays. Carolina had 1. Both teams scored 1. Maybe the Golden Knights might have the second. No, they got 1 out of 4. Like, that's a big difference. That wears on teams. That's why this game looked a lot better. Now, the feet are there, which was not the case. I do think at some point they're going to have to figure out why they're constantly falling behind. Like, you've got to figure out a way to get past not being up to speed for 5, 10, 15, 20, in Florida, 60 minutes. Like, they've got to figure that out, because as much as we like, and I say this a lot, and I think it's important that, like, it's a huge part of the NHL regular season, is most teams stink. Most teams in this league aren't good. Like, there's reasonably like 8 to 12 teams that are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Golden Knights are one of them. So you're looking at 7 to 11 teams, and you don't play them all that often because a lot of them are in the other conference. We just saw one of them. We're not going to see this team again the rest of the season. So when you have the games that you play against the shittier teams, most of this doesn't really make a difference. But when you play the good teams, that's where you're going to see, what does it look like when Eichel's put in good situations against good teams? What does it look like when Marner's put in good situations against good teams? Like, that's how you end up beating a team like this. You have a great chance against Colorado when they come back home, when we start getting into the Edmontons and Dallases and the teams that are actually going to be there, the ones that we actually need to see if they can beat. This is what it has to look like. And part of it is, like, you can't fall behind those teams consistently. Yeah, I understand. They fell behind Carolina both times and got out of it. That's unlikely. You do that in a playoff series, you're probably in trouble. And we saw that against Edmonton. They did not score first in any of the last 3 games and lost them all. Or 2 of the last 3. Either way, whatever it was. Actually, I think they might have, either, whatever. 5-game series, they didn't score first in most of them, and they lose. Right? So it's definitely the last 3 now that I think about it. Because it was 3, 7, and then it was 4 or 5 to begin this season. They've got to figure that part out. But it's early for that. I'm not too worried about that. And we know, like, I feel like anybody watching the game, like, they give up the first goal. It's all right, that sucks. Try to not give up the next one. That has not been the case too often. The Kings game, they did. I feel like there's one other one that they came down from 2. Other than those, like, usually they get the next one, and they did today, and that allows them to get back into it. That's been crucial. I think that's a little bit of being fortunate at times that you are able to turn it on, because usually when they are giving up the goal, like, not that big. Well, yeah, all right, so they win the final, but, like, that Florida team by the end of that series wasn't the Florida team that won the next 2 cups, and I don't think they were even as good as the Edmonton team that the Golden Knights played that year. So to me, like, yeah, you can look at that. Also, that team was a different animal. That team was a lot deeper, a lot more consistent defensively. Like, allowing 1 goal was probably all it was going to be at some point. So Eichel, he's been awesome. I thought today was interesting because there was a little bit of a different approach on Eichel. We haven't seen this all that often. I don't really even know how many teams have even tried it. It did seem to work for a little while, and I'll tell you what it is after I tell you that this Periscope and all Periscopes are brought to you by the Jimmerson Law Firm. Jimmerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas's preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. Nice of them to win one of these on the road and get out of there with 3 points. Pretty good. Yeah, something was going on in my brain there. I had a different script in my mind, and I needed my brain to just like get to the Jimmerson read, and eventually we got there, which was nice. So I don't know what was going on at the beginning there. So if you hear me having like a mini stroke there, I don't know. It was a different script. Couldn't figure it out. I don't have it written because I just know it. I don't, whatever. So Eichel today, defensively, and it was mostly Martinook and Stahl. Other guys were doing it. Some of their defensemen were trying to do it as well. But it was mostly the big guys on the line that was against him. They were trying to be physical with Eichel. They were trying to hit him when he was on the puck, right when he was off the puck, all of it. Like a lot of these scenarios were trying to make him uncomfortable. And you saw the hit late. I believe that one was Martinook that led to the offsetting or coinciding minors that led to the 4-on-4. Didn't love Vegas's 4-on-4, which weird. Usually are pretty good at it. Not sure what was going on there because it's not like they have elite players that should beat you in 4-on-4. They're fast, but if you can get possession and the Golden Knights have possession, you should be able to do something with it. And they didn't. So that's one, whatever. We'll throw that one away for a second. But for a team to be physical on Eichel, and it did work. Like I thought it was successful for a good portion. I thought Eichel into the second period, like he wasn't having a great game. And like you can debate the play. Holtz drops it off to him in the high slot. Like Eichel's going to make that play more often than not. If I'm making the decision, like give it to Eichel as often as possible if you're Alex Holtz and you go find a place where you can potentially get a shot. I don't want you holding the puck up above the circles. So I don't mind the pass. I understand the argument that's like, it's not great. It does put him in a bad spot. But like Eichel's going to make that play more often than not. So in that respect, it's like then he gets it swept off of him. The goal goes. Martinook kind of hits him even after scoring the goal. Like it just they had a plan of how they wanted to play Eichel, and I thought it went well until they made the same mistake at the blue line. He gets loose. He scores the goal. Like Eichel scored twice today. He was not nearly as good as Pavel. I don't think he was as good as Marner. He definitely wasn't. This is going to sound crazy, but he wasn't as good as Howden. Like he does score 2 goals, and that's what makes him an elite superstar player. Like that's not his best game. It did seem to work. I'm interested to see, and we'll look at it moving forward. Not everybody's going to have the athletes to do it or the personnel to do it, but I'm interested to see how that's going to go moving forward. Goalies, I've said this before. I will say this again. With the goalies, if the team plays a decent game in front of them, the goalies are going to do the job. When you give away breakaways, even to Jordan Martinook, they're not going to stop them more often than not. They just aren't. Like they don't have superstar goalies. And now with one down, Akira Schmid can do the job. He will do the job. We will see on Lindbaum. He was excellent in his first game. Really good job. But I don't know what that's going to look like if he gets too many more games. We'll see. Still young. League doesn't know a lot about him. Usually the first games go pretty well. Ask Jackson Stauber. Like sometimes it goes well. We'll see. I don't want to see too much of that if they can avoid it. I think there's only 2 back-to-backs for a while here, and the next one's like almost 3 weeks away. They'll be okay for the time being. Schmid can hold down the fort. Obviously, Carter Hart on the horizon. Let's hold that one until we get there. I understand people want to know what my thoughts are on the Golden Knights signing Carter Hart. Go look at the video that I did on that. I don't need to get into that over and over and over again, so we won't. I think that like we have to realize to a certain degree that this is common for how things go early in seasons for the Golden Knights. Bruce Cassidy's teams are excellent to start seasons. That's always the case. Like that's been the case for a long time here in Boston. The goalies usually starter is all right. Backup is good. Usually because they get the worst games. They get the easier games. Not what's happening with Schmid so far. And he's been pretty good. One game I didn't think he was good at all. A couple games he's been really good, especially the first Carolina game. Thought he was just fine today. Didn't really have to do, I wouldn't say he didn't have to do much, but like we constantly have this. Beginning of last season, how many people told me we need to have Ilya Samsonov as the starter? Beginning of the season before, we got to have Bressois in the net, or maybe it was 2 years before. Like Get Subban in there. Like what it happens every year. And the more they play, the harder it becomes. And that's why certain guys become starters and other guys are not. And yes, to Dustin's question, I do not believe Akira Schmid is a starter in the NHL. I just don't see it. Maybe he will change my mind. He is going to get opportunities to do that. I am slow to change my mind on goalies early in seasons, just how it is. I don't put a ton of weight in these games. I do like to see trends. And that's why like the last two games bothered me because that was a trend of like this is what it looks like against certain styles of play. And no, he's not. Oh, I don't believe he's a 1B. I believe he's a solid backup. Okay, backup. Because he's played a few games early in the season, we get all excited. We did this again about Ilya Samsonov. I've said this over and over and over again. I'll stop on that. Like the trend of what's gone on is road games have been challenging. That's going to be interesting to see how that moves forward because that's usually matchup related. Now, they haven't skated very well in some of these road games, so we'll have to see. But to have this one, as I said in my little 3 takeaways from .vegas domains, go to porkbun.com/SinBin to get your .vegas domain. I thought that this type of a game makes it easier to just not worry as much about the last two. But the trend is there. Those two games weren't particularly good. The San Jose game wasn't particularly good. The Seattle game wasn't particularly good. Calgary was a little bit better. Most of the road games haven't been all that good. This one was. So that puts one in a different column to say, like, all right, if more can happen like this, the trend can start to go in that direction. That's it. Did Hill convince you he's a starter when he won the cup? Yeah, actually. And then the following year when he started 50 games, or maybe I guess it was 2 years ago, last year when he started 50 games and did the job the entirety of the way after everyone knew he was the starter after signing the contract, which kicked in this season. Yeah, I'm slow to get to it. Like, it took me a while on Logan Thompson. Go ask Logan Thompson. He'll tell you. It took me a while to get there on Subban. Didn't really work out. Took me a while to get there on Brossoit. Didn't really like I didn't on those guys. Took like that. It is what it is. I don't know that Schmid's going to be a full-time starter in the NHL. I'm just not sure I see it yet. Lindbaum's so young. I'm not all that worried about it. Coming up is Nevada Day. That's going to be interesting. That game's always fun. Day game. They wear white at home. It's always cool. Tough opponent. Colorado's playing awesome. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game goes. And this is where kind of the trends come in. Like, all right, you played well against Carolina twice. Of the other good teams they've played, and really none of them have been actually good because if you look down the standings, they're all bad. Carolina's the only one that they've played that's actually not bad. I guess Seattle's been all right. But for the most part, it's been mostly bad. This is the team that they've played well against. Florida, they didn't. Tampa, they didn't. LA was a weird one. Let's see. Let's see what it looks like against a Colorado team that's humming. Like, that's going to be an interesting game. We'll see if I do a Periscope after that one. Not sure. Day game, I might. We'll see. That's all I got for tonight. Thanks again to the Jimmerson Law Firm for sponsoring all Periscopes on this channel. Podcasts will be probably down the road, maybe next week at some point. Sin Bingo is still open until the 31st. I'm going to send one out in the next couple of days. If you don't have your Sin Bingo card, go to the site. It's on the right-hand side on a desktop. You got to scroll all the way to the bottom to get it on mobile. Okay, I'll take this one. Would Vegas risk losing Schmid on waivers? Schmid spelled wrong. But I think initially, no. I think they will carry 3 goalies for a little while. Like, I could see it being a month plus. I also don't know what the health of Hill's going to be at the time that Hart becomes available. I do think Hart would immediately take Lindbaum's spot. I don't even think that's a debate. I think Hart also becomes like a 2A, 2B with their backups, and I think they will give both of them opportunities. I don't know what they're going to try and do in practice, but I do believe they will hold 3 goalies for at least a short period of time. If Hart shows that he can do the job, that he can be at the level, which is weird because if he does exactly what Akira has done, that's going to be enough. You have to look at how much money they paid Carter Hart and what they're paying Akira Schmid and what the expenditure is moving forward, they're going to lean towards Hart. That's the way that it's going to go. They've shown that by the contract that was sent out. They've shown that by standing behind the player when a lot of people do not believe that they should be standing behind the player. Like, that's where we're at. So I do think eventually, yes, they could put Schmid on waivers. I think they're going to try to play the game for a while with it. I think they'll try to hold the 3 goalies, and if somebody's injured and whatever, however it's got to go, I think they'll be patient on it. But if inevitably we get to the point where it's like, all right, we need that roster spot or we need the cap space for not having the 3rd goalie, I think they might end up putting Schmid on waivers. That being said, I also think it's possible they have 3 goalies all the way to the end, and either Hart goes on waivers or they keep 3 all the way through. I think that's certainly possible too. Thanks again to the Jimmerson Law Firm sponsoring this Periscope. We might see you Friday. I don't know. I'll definitely be at the game. I'll definitely be on Twitter and all that, so I'll see you through that. But I don't know if I'm going to do any of these, but we'll see. See how the game goes. Good game. Good game, Golden Knights. Road trip, not great. Today was good, though.